pronunciation.
Okay.
And, we're ready? We're live. And Taylor is here if there's any questions for the dashboard report.
Okay. Let's go ahead and call to order this regular meeting of the Whitley County Community Corrections Advisory Board for December 5th, 2024. We will note that there is a quorum present. At this point, I would seek a motion regarding the minutes that have been
Their email, but I do have a copy if someone wants to look at it before they make a
distributed
motion.
of the September 5th, 2024 meeting, and I do have a hard copy up here if somebody wants to review those before taking action on that. Okay. Thank you for saying that with some food in your mouth, so I feel validated.
You're welcome.
There's-
Make you feel good.
Thank you. Thank you. There's been a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of the September 5th, 2024 meeting as distributed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Thank you.
Sign. First item I show on the agenda is the unfinished business of the House Enrolled Act 1167. And Paul, I don't want to steal your thunder.
Steal it.
But that has to do with some new open door requirements regarding live streaming meetings. And when they said we were live, Vicki is our IT person over here handling that, and we are apparently live streaming right now as well. Under new business, we'll go ahead for reports. Alcohol and drug program. They show that that's Tasha today.
Yep, I'm reporting for Julie. She stated that there's 252 referrals to date, 183 of those being male, 69 of those being female. She has a new substance abuse education class starting in January. JCAP is set to begin December 19th. That's a 10-week class. And then PRI is scheduled for the weeks of January, or the days of January 25th and 26th.
Too quick. Thank you. There's a motif of food in mouth on this one.
You may take the next.
Report on addiction recovery court. Is that you?
That is me. Judge Rentschler is unable to be here today, as is Julie. So just an update, we have had at least 2 team meetings to begin discussing just target population, some policies and procedures, and we'll resume those meetings. I believe we have one more in December, and then probably hit it hard after the first of the year. We are currently recruiting for a full-time assistant to assist with the development in that program. We start interviews next week, and that position is funded through the Indiana Office of Court Services.
And that is just during grant periods. So is it a temporary position based on the grant funding?
It's right now it's funded for a year, and then we'll have to reapply next year.
Okay. Any questions regarding that?
I'm just curious, once it's up and running, how many participants do you anticipate?
Well, that's what we've been discussing, and I think it's going to be smaller than what Veterans Treatment Court. They've talked around 10. Is that what they discussed last night? Yeah, it's kind of up in the air. It's not going to be as large as Veterans Treatment Court. I do know that.
When do you guys expect to go live with participants?
Judge is ready in January, but Julie told him we had a little work to do. So as soon as everything's in place, I think he's ready to go. We just have to get all the obviously define the target population, and get all the policies and procedures in place, and then start looking for participants, screening.
You basically take sort of the model and policies, procedures, and
That's my understanding, yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, home detention, and I understand we have Kara instead of Virgil.
So we currently have 15 participants on home detention. All of them are adults. We don't have any juveniles right now. 7 of those cases are transfer in cases, and then the other 8 are Whitley County cases. We also have 5 people transferred out to other counties.
Any questions regarding home detention? Okay. Pretrial Services, Sasha, back at you.
Alright, so we have 363 individuals on the pretrial services caseload, so we're down a little bit. We've been hovering right around 400. So of those 363, 186 of those were new intakes for this quarter. You received Taylor's report in the dashboard. There was just one thing I wanted to point out under the statistics for the third quarter. You'll see there that it has the population assessed rate, and that's defined as the arrested pretrial defendants who are eligible to post-bond under statute. And that statistic is listed as 45%. That statistic was ran before I had all of the assessments and then into the database, and so that's where that pulled from. Now that all of those assessments are actually entered in, our assessment rate is 100%. So all individuals that are incarcerated at the Whitley County Jail that are able to post-bond are assessed. So that's one stat I wanted to point out that wasn't quite accurate. That was my fault not having those in there.
Thank you, Tasha. Any questions regarding pretrial services?
I do. So, if someone's on pretrial services, how and have law enforcement interaction? If an officer calls their name, what's their name, are they going to see that they're on pretrial services? Is that something that, like, is there a connection between systems?
I don't think so, but what we noticed recently, I reached out to the sheriff about this, is I've had a couple deputies that have had interactions with people that are having pending cases because they are so familiar with them. They've been reaching out to me and saying, I just had one last week, Deputy Smith reached out to me and said, hey, I just want you to know that this person said that they relapsed. The law enforcement officers are becoming much more familiar with knowing that not everybody that's on pretrial services is being drug tested. So it's been super helpful for them to reach out to us. But my understanding that there isn't really any communication for the officers to really know that they're under supervision unless they know that there's a pending case.
So I'm just wondering if there's a way to inform them, and I know you've got 300 some cases and a lot of names, so that's people fall off.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think it would be. We were talking about them. I think the week before, and there was some non-pretrial services. The officer didn't know going out there, interviewed her. She was intoxicated, so and trying something. But we didn't know that. We didn't get the report. It didn't end up being anything that the officer thought he could charge or that I could be charged. But you would want to know about the particular person that you're going to. So I know that I've got at least a note out to my office to see if we can somehow talk a bit more about that to see if we can get law enforcement okay with you guys somehow.
I'll say that the caseload that we have, the 2 and 3 still reporting in the bi-weekly or weekly. One of the questions that we ask them each week is if they've had that law enforcement contact. And not necessarily that it's a violation that they did have that contact, but us just knowing. And I'll say that I feel like people are pretty forthcoming and saying, yeah, I called on my neighbor, now we did get to this argument. We have that quite a bit. But again, from the law enforcement officer going out on the call on our end, I don't know if they know that.
Tasha, do you have access to the county and the city's database to look up reports?
No. Well, only when a case is filed. So
just for existence, or example, in Lindsay's case there's not an arrest, you don't have access to that report the officer made.
yeah, exactly.
So I know in Allen County, people check in with pretrial services, they run through the Spillman system, which is what all the Allen County law enforcement agencies are on.
Yeah.
If they see in some kind of involvement that might involve a violation, they file a notice with the court. But their check-in is triggering that.
Do you know if there's any restrictions of? Well, there must not be.
Well, the Spillman coordinator, whoever coordinates, gives access to pretrial services because our pretrial services is under the Army Corps. It's not under community corrections.
I know there was some discussion when pretrial first started, and that was before the sheriff's department moved over to Spillman about us having like the IDAX reports and how limited that was because you can't have windows and there's only terminals for the county. I don't know if that is the same for Spillman.
Yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, IDAX is run by the state. I think Spillman has their own. Each agency has their own coordinator that grants access. But
I can reach out to Janelle Schnell on that.
Yeah, so do you think we would request through dispatch
I don't.
or sheriff permission
Either
to
the
do it?
sheriff or the chief of police.
my guess is you would probably have to check with each of the law enforcement agencies. So you're probably checking with the marshals and.
I think it's gonna be more efficient and it's gonna be more accurate, because expecting the road officer to understand and know who's on pretrial is gonna be hard to do, and it's gonna be inaccurate also.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out.
That's a good idea.
Thank you, Joni. Any other
Thank you,
questions for Natasha? Vicki, are you able to report from your new station?
I am able to. So I think you have a handout that has work release information.
Yep.
The only thing that I really want to point out is that our numbers are low, which is typical for this time of year. And then also the change in our medication policy, which the executive board approved. We have for some time wanted to pass the management of the over-the-counter medications to the participants and remove it from staff. And so as we did some research, we found that the BOP, the DOC in Indiana, and even our own Whitley County Jail all allow participants or inmates to manage their own over-the-counter medications within limits. So only specific over-the-counter medications, only specific quantities. And so we asked if we could do the same, and the executive board approved that. And so we are in the process right now of transitioning our participants to that new policy.
And you do have a copy of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I just said they do have a copy of that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, before, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. So, we can ask, are there any questions of Vicki? Because I do want to go ahead and treat that as an action item and have the full advisory board ratify. You like that word?
I like it. I really like it.
Ratify the decision of the executive committee, which the executive committee went forward with that so that you could get started on that. And clearly, if you don't ratify that decision, we'll have to rethink things. But I would be looking for a motion, at least to start a discussion, a motion to ratify the executive committee's approval of the medication policy changes that we have here. If someone would feel comfortable so moving, and if we have a second, then we could start a discussion. Okay. It's been moved, and Lindsay will call you the second. Is that okay? All right. Any discussion or questions about these changes? Vicki has given a wonderful summary of really what we're looking at. I think it's not only that one, but it's also this one, right? Which is kind of.
Those are the medications that we will actually be selling and the max quantities that they'll be allowed to possess.
You have a copy of that in your packet too.
And those, we just kind of, Brenda, which is our community corrections nurse, and I looked at what we typically see our participants asking for and wanting, and what we felt, or she felt, because I don't know, are safe for them to have in their possession. What did I do wrong?
Nothing.
Oh.
We just can relate to some of these items.
We're looking at some of the items on the list
Yes.
that we can relate to. I was looking at Icy Hot.
So that's where that list came from.
Do you remember off the top of your head the number of medications at the time you proposed this that we were managing in the facility?
I do. I have that with me. So I believe it was, let me give you the real number. We had 137 medications in the building. 108 of them were prescriptions, and the rest were over-the-counter medications. And so, do the math on that. What is that? 29 over-the-counter medications that we are now, or would have been at that time, able to pass back to participants to manage themselves. So we're thankful for that.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to ratify the executive committee's approval of the changes to the medication policy that have been proposed. I don't even have food in my mouth that time. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We is ratified.
Thank you.
Vicki, you didn't have anything else?
I do not.
Thank you. Boy, we are moving along in a clip here. Ed, probation.
Same. I can go if you wanted to skip the Veterans Treatment Court, but.
Blooper?
Did I? Oh, I did. Elizabeth, I'm sorry. And she called me a blooper. We're
I
live.
think
Everybody
it's
knows
the
that you use that kind of language now. Elizabeth, I'm sorry. Veterans Treatment Court. Thank you, Ed.
I think everyone has a handout too, so I won't read it word for word to everybody, but we've got 25 individuals right now in Veterans Treatment Court. Continue to take transfers in from Kosciuszko County and Huntington County. We have one from Wells County right now also, and then we've got 4 referrals out to other counties as well. We've got 7 individuals with pending cases that are just kind of in the pipeline, the process of being screened for eligibility determination. We are continuing to work with Mission 25 and utilizing the reduced housing departments. We continue to work with Purdue Extension to have our workshops and trainings with the veterans. We try to do at least 2 a year. We're having one coming up in December 19th, and it's going to be a baking workshop. And so the homemakers are going to teach the veterans how to bake pies. And so each veteran is going to bake their own pie, and while it's in the oven, then the homemakers have cooked a Christmas meal, and so everyone's gonna have like a Christmas meal together. Because actually we had a couple veterans over after Thanksgiving say that they didn't have anyone to spend it with, and they just went to Golden Corral by themselves and things. So we're really trying to figure out a way to at least get them some, surroundings and good holiday meal and things like that, but also put a spin on it that we can count this as our educational activity too. So kind of a win-win. So that's going to take place on the 19th at the 4-H Fairgrounds. Tonight, so we have Veterans Treatment Court today at 3. At 4:30, one of the alumni and mentors has rented out baby pins for 2 hours and is paying for shoe rental, pizzas, pop, things like that. And so we've sent invitations out to all the current participants, past participants, and mentors. And so we've gotten quite a bit of response back. Guys saying, hey, they can bring their family or significant others. And so I think that'll be a nice time for them tonight after 4 as well. So that's going on, and that's all from our alumni group that's planned by them. We're not involved other than we just spread the word to everybody to let them know that was happening. So that's nice that kind of happens organically on its own with them, as it should. Judge Garza continues to fill in for Judge Ball while he's out. We had a graduation ceremony on November 7th. Went well, and our next ceremony is scheduled for May. And we will probably have at least 8 graduates in May. Our numbers are just continuing to grow and grow and grow. And I'll have, obviously, the next time we have an advisory board meeting, I'll have numbers. But in 2023, we had a total of 25 participants in the program in some way, shape, or form. And we're already, and I say already, it's basically the end of the year, but we're at 34 this year. And when I started 4 years ago, we had 4 people in the program. So, I mean, it's just growing and growing. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Big jump.
Any questions? What'd you say?
That's a big jump.
Yes, it is a big jump. Any questions for Beth? Okay, thank you, and I am sorry I overlooked you. Ed, it's now your turn.
No, accordingly, same as Beth, probation numbers continue to grow. We've got 300 plus active individuals with a plan coming down the pipeline currently on probation. The risk levels seem to be growing with that as well too. At the beginning of the 3rd quarter, as many of you know, we received grant funding for a field officer and a high-risk felony offender probation officer. And just in the high-risk felony offenders, they were supervising actively 23, not including the moderates on their caseload, which is taking up quite a bit of time. So we've been talking recently about trying to moderate the number on where that should possibly be capped, because very likely as this new addition recovery court starts, the individual supervising the high-risk felony offenders is likely going to be the individual representing the court for ARC. It's likely they might transition from ARC to probation. That way there's already a built rapport and understanding of the individuals. So that's been in conversations recently. We, in addition to growing workloads, it has felt as though we've been completing more pre-sentence investigation reports than normal lately. So I ran the reports for the last 3 years, from the beginning of the 3rd quarter up until about December, and we are 10 pre-sentence investigation reports more this year than we typically average in the last 3. And so 10 doesn't sound like a big number, but some of these pre-sentence investigation reports, depending on their criminal history out of state, mental health history, as it's a biography on their life, can take 3 to 4 plus hours. So that's a significant amount of extra time that our department is dedicating towards these reports. In addition, and I mentioned last time, we are fully staffed. We continue training with not only the new staff, but the rest of the department who, while Jen and I, and thanks to Lindsay again for inviting us to the Indiana Youth Institute conference this week, we were gone. So we were not there to see the scowls and the upset faces of our coworkers who went through OC training yesterday and got pepper sprayed. So we are now all trained in defensive tactics, OC, and it can hopefully get back to much more consistent field contacts with our caseload.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. Any questions, Mr. Beaver? Okay. I hate to jinx this by saying we're just moving along in a clip, but we really are.
No.
Oh, now it's Paula.
Now it's kind of slow down. Okay, so good news is all the grants that we submitted for 2025 were approved, so we'll move forward with all the programs and services. I don't know at the last meeting if I think most of them were approved at the last meeting other than the opioid grant that funds our nurse and our reentry JCAP, but that is renewed for another year. So we will continue to have a nurse on site and start building our reentry program. I know you guys all got the email. Did you read it this week about the changes as far as reentry and JCAP and staffing? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Alyssa's going to, if you didn't, I'm just going to go over it again. So Alyssa's going to remain a member of the community corrections staff and start building the reentry program with the help of all of you. And then the sheriff will hire a JCAP coordinator. So if you know anyone who's interested, probably have them reach out to the sheriff. Right now we're struggling finding JCAP participants. So I'm not sure if we'll get one launched again. We're hoping to launch at least one more class in our facility because the sheriff has enough to do with getting his new building open that he probably doesn't want to assume that responsibility right away in January. So we're hoping to at least have one more JCAP class. Facility renovations, as expected, has its challenges when you have people living there and working there. But so far I've been super appreciative of all the participants and the staff and their patients. But it's going to be a year of renovation, so we hope those patients continue to be in place. I'm trying to think if there's anything else right now. Probably nothing else right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that was pretty fast.
Other than Taylor. Sorry. No. Taylor's here for her second meeting, and she does an excellent job on the dashboard report and a number of other reports. So if you have any questions for her or anything you'd like to see addition to the work she's doing, please just reach out to her.
We haven't been recently going over the dashboard report as part of the individual department reports or area reports. I think in part because hopefully it speaks for itself, but if you should have questions about that, feel free to offer those questions, even though we don't have it on the agenda anymore. Taylor, is there anything you want to add?
On the next dashboard report, I plan on including public defender fees that are being addressed by our office for both courts.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's something she volunteered to do, which I appreciate, helping try to recover some of those public defender fees so you still have a job, Tony.
Pardon?
I said, so you still have a job.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Then we've got JRAC business.
Yep.
That we're moving to.
JCAP. You said that we're struggling to get participants. Do you have any knowledge as to why or maybe?
Alyssa can probably better respond to that.
So obviously they have to have enough time to complete the program, and we have had meetings with the prosecutors, and so circuit court cases, they don't really want me to pull anyone from there, depending on if they're being sentenced to DFC. And then when it comes to Superior Court, they would like them to be sentenced before they can participate in JCAP. So pretrial? Yeah, so like, yeah. So kind of what I'm running into is by the time they're sentenced, they don't have enough time to complete the 4-month program. And so it kind of just limits the number of people who are eligible at this point.
We were really fortunate to get the classes we did to build the pilot. I mean, it was so helpful. And then after that, it just seems like we have not been able to. Still have 4, maybe get 4, and maybe a 5th, and then one will fall off for some reason. Whether it
We
be
have a lot of guys in circuit on simple possession cases and maybe some low-level dealings that we can delay disposition for 4 months or more. I mean,
And I think that's kind of what DJ was scared about, is that if we delay sentencing because they're doing JCAP, then it's going to get in the way of resolving the case, which I can see. So it's just, there's a lot of kind of things that they have to meet to be able to be in the program that are kind of out of my hands a little bit. So I have a lot of people interested in it, definitely. I mean, I have a stack of applications, but it's just timing really. So.
And we don't know if maybe, once it's actually operating out of the jail, if the prosecutors will feel more comfortable with it, kind of maybe loosening that up a little bit of who participates. Maybe it's just because
you have a problem with it. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I know at least surrounding counties have JCAP. Do they do pretrial?
Yes.
But there's some counties that don't.
Not that I'm aware of, but I've really only collaborated with Alan and Kosciuszko to build this program, so.
I can speak on that a little bit too. I would say that prior to pretrial services coming, we probably would have easily been able to have a population that you could pull from formerly to create a group. But I feel like anybody that's in the jail now is either serving a short period of incarceration, so they wouldn't be eligible, or they're your circuit court cases that are waiting disposition. So there's not people sitting in our jail that don't fall into those 2 buckets.
And that's frankly what jail's for. I mean, holding people pre-trial. I thought that was the population we were aiming for with the JCAP program, was the pre-trial population.
Hopefully we can have some more meetings about that. So.
Excellent.
And you have to have a certain amount, correct?
We have to have 6.
With the grant funding that we receive, well, it's through QCC, 6 people in a group to be able to start the whole program. So right now I have 3 eligible candidates, but I have to have 3 more to start it.
Okay, good discussion. Thank you, Lindsay, for pursuing that. Is there anything else before we move to JRAC? Apparently not. Okay, so looks like the first issue there is the opioid settlement
That's
fund.
a word, isn't it?
Opioid settlement proposal.
Yes.
And mine was slightly out of order.
Oh.
At least I was looking at the pagination, and
Well,
it got all confusing.
you can't
to me.
find good help. I
Well-
put these packets together.
One says page 1 of 2, then it says page 2 of 2, then it says page 3 of 3, then it says page 3 of 3.
Oh, these are 2 separate documents.
2 separate.
Yes,
That's what
yes,
explains.
yes.
Okay.
It's just
So
a draft.
don't
I've
get
heard
confused by the 3 of 3.
Right.
Okay. Well, tell us about this.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about it. So we had discussed that this board would develop a proposal for the commissioners to consider as far as how they're going to award the opioid settlement funds. Right now, the only program that's being supported through that funding source is JCAP, and that's for the JCAP coordinators' wage and benefits. But there's additional funds that could be issued to agencies that qualify for this funding. So I just put together a couple forms for you to just look at. We thought about maybe mirroring the same process that Drug Free Indiana does, as far as a small proposal be submitted, it's reviewed by a committee, and then you take it to council and commissioners for approval. Obviously, there's criteria as far as who can receive this level of funding, but that's what's in your packet today. So if you can just at least take a look at it, let me know if you have suggestions or concerns about anything in those two documents, and then I would like to forward it to the commissioners and council before our meeting in March to see if we can move forward with that.
Thank you. Any questions? So you're just looking for input on these documents
Yes.
as sort of a
Yes.
mini grant request or
Yes.
all right. And if you don't hear from anybody, you're going to submit it as is.
Yes, but I'll do the
Change
page numbers correctly. Yes.
That's so important.
It is.
Is this Mista?
That's Mista.
All right. Bowen Center Crisis Response Update.
Yeah, we got approved for the grant moving forward, so we get to continue this awesome program as far as serving adults in the community that need us when law enforcement is called to a scene. We are up to 10 calls that we've actually responded to in person. There are other calls that we get via phone and triage situations. Obviously, if they're already actively suicidal, have a plan and a weapon, there's no point in us going to the scene. They just need to go to an inpatient hospital or the ER. And so we've had several of those calls, which again is great that we have worked so well with law enforcement and they're just calling to give us a heads up, because then we can follow up with them. Maybe if they go to our unit or to Parkview's unit, to make sure that they're engaging in services after that. So thus far, all of the calls that we have received, which I think we're up to 10 that we've gone out on scene, they all have continued treatment after, either continued treatment or started treatment after we've sent someone to the scene, which, I mean, that's kind of unheard of to have 100% success of them engaging in treatment. And that goes for the children too, which is pretty awesome, because I think we've had 49 calls for juveniles. Not all of those calls we've gone out to. Those are also some of those situations where it doesn't make sense for us to go based on the severity. But 49 calls overall since January 23, I think. So yeah, I feel like it's going well, and it's more preventative care when it comes to treatment. So looking for those opportunities to intervene early.
Thank you. Questions?
Do you want to?
Mister, are the calls for the adults, are you aware of any of them in a criminal charge, or is it an officer kind of just doesn't know what to do and they're like, I think I'll go in?
Yeah, couple domestic type situations where there's no physical altercation, just kind of yelling and screaming. So getting them in, marriage counseling, I can think of the other one, homelessness were two of them, I believe. So yeah, situations like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what you wanted it for, right?
Yep.
Questions? Mista, did you have anything else?
I do. So with Bowen Center changing to Bowen Health, we are reorganizing what our org chart looks like internally. And so we opened 4 new positions, executive director positions, and they're over Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, and Allen County. They're the Northeast position, or the Northeast executive director position is over Noble, LaGrange, Steuben, DeKalb, and Whitley. I applied for that role and I was offered that role, so I accepted it this week, which means I'll still be working in Whitley County, just not nearly as much. So I'm not sure what meetings are going to look like for me and my participation on different boards and committees. Unsure of what that looks like at this point, since I just got announced this week. But I don't want it to be a surprise when that comes out and you see it. I wanted you guys to know first. So not sure what that's going to look like for me, but it does allow an opportunity for 2 new positions in my office. One is a director of community engagement, And then the other one is a practice administrator. So the administrator will be in office, hiring, firing, overseeing the office as far as making sure we're at par when it comes to audits and that type of thing. And then the community engagement piece is just what it sounds like. You're kind of out and about doing these types of position or these boards and committees and all of that. So if you know anyone who's interested, send them my way.
And Pat, sounds like congratulations
Thank
is in
you.
order. I had a very good headline on that. Right?
Sorry, yeah.
No.
I got a promotion.
No, give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations,
Thanks.
and we hope that we don't lose you here.
Yeah, I just want to echo that too. Obviously, I talked to Mista before the meetings, but congratulations and thank you for all you've done for us. Not only community corrections, but I just think system-wide, you have really bridged a gap between Bowen Center and the county and all the service providers. So super appreciate you and all you've done for us.
Okay. Now, this is reentry JCAP update. Have we already done that, or do we have?
Yeah, I just want to talk a
more?
little bit more because I know there's some confusion, so I just want to go over this again. So in 2019, we had began the discussion of a therapeutic unit in our facility, and we did a small remodel. And at that time, we were calling it reentry, and that's when we wrote the grant for reentry and received the grant award. Obviously, then COVID hit. That unit was totally used for quarantine. We never developed that model, but in the same time frame, the commissioners approved to go forward with building the JCAP in the jail. So everyone agreed it was a great opportunity to do a pilot and start building that JCAP model in our facility versus the reentry at that time. So we did that, and we're very fortunate. We have a really solid model. But now we need to look at what is reentry. What are the services we're lacking? Our sentencing practices have changed a lot since 2019. We have a lot more programs and services, but I feel like as far as recidivism, the reentry is going to be hopefully the key to maybe helping. A lot of our participants still don't have suitable housing. They walk out the doors, they stop using their medication. I don't know how much we can do once they're released from court supervision, but I feel as much as we can do to prepare them and connect them with the resources before they're off court supervision, I'm hoping we'll see that will keep our recidivism down. So, but really, it's all, we need to work together. There's nothing in place. I just need to hear from all of you, things you want us to look into. You did a little brief survey in the jail. How many people did you survey?
Half the population, I think it was around 42.
And what was some of the feedback you got from that survey as far as reentry?
Obviously housing is a big thing. Transportation, once they are released from the jail, I mean, they're being released all hours of the night. We don't have any kind of transportation in this county. So, they're probably gonna go back to doing what they were doing. They have no way to get home. And then, also just IDs, social security cards, being able to help them with the process of getting those before they're released.
We talked about a little about at a strategic planning thing, the Community Foundation, and one of Greg's partners was just brought up the simple point is like they're booked in July at 3 a.m. 10 months down the road or whatever, they're released at 3 a.m. in the winter. I don't know if that'd be 10 months. The judge probably fact checking me on that. But so, they came in on sandals, booked in sandals, and they're released in the middle of winter with no transportation, no money, and they're in sandal shorts, and they're going to be walking around our community with, not a good, say, place to go or a place or how to get there. So those are things I don't want to be a lot of fluff, but I do feel like we really need to respond to that, and that we have done a lot of work in the last, a lot of years, but to move forward with, programming, but now how are we going to address that recidivism?
And we do have possibly an opportunity, and maybe this is something, have we talked about partnering with Mission 25?
Yes.
Because they are now, they didn't used to want to consider themselves an emergency shelter, but I know they've got a new facility. It's going to be within walking distance of most of those other places. Can they help on some of this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their beds are dedicated. Are they long-term placement, or are they going to have any?
My understanding was that that's what they were. They were trained that they were long-term for a while, but my understanding was that they were enlarging that model to possibly provide some emergency shelter services.
That's great.
Anybody here know offhand Lindsay?
I'm on board.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
go.
So, yes, I think that Sean would be very interested in having that discussion. I think that Credit expects to have that discussion about this. And the current facility that they have, which is not a nice place, it is going to be empty though, and I mean, there's room for doing something to that property and to potentially create some more housing, because we obviously have a housing shortage in Whitley County. But I mean, I do think that there's a lot of opportunity for that warm handoff between community corrections and Mission 25. I think that's what they're for.
Great.
Anything else on that?
Do you have anything else you want to add?
I just wanted to go over a little bit about, I believe you guys have this report in the back, your packet. This is a report that I created just about the 11 individuals who have completed JCAP, kind of about, it starts off like why they want to be a part of the program, and then I broke down hour by hour, like all the classes they did in the program, and then I put a total of hours that were completed during the JCAP program. I would just like to note that 7 out of the 11 graduates have not returned to incarceration. So I believe that's like a 63% rate, so I believe that's pretty good. Program's working. But yeah, I want to do one more JCAP before I move to the jail. That's my goal. But we will see where that goes.
Alyssa, I know we had a discussion in this body years ago about what duration of time we were going to use to measure recidivism. You know, does that mean back in a year? How long do we, you know, if they get rearrested, if they were incarcerated 3 years? Do you have any standards or anything like that that you might be looking at in terms of measuring that going forward for JCAP?
So, from collaborating with Kosciuszko County and Allen County, they do tracking of every individual who graduated the program for 3 years, but I believe Community Corrections has another number.
Our recidivism, that the definition the board came up with 5 years.
Yeah. So right now what I'm doing is I just, I like to call them at least once a month, check in with them, see how they're doing, and I know everything that they have going on. So just staying in contact with them, helping them whenever they need it. That's what I try to do. Sometimes I might not get an answer. I'll leave a message if I can, but I've had good success with staying in contact with them. It's nice to see their growth where they are.
And we still have one participant living at the facility.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't know if those were sent out as part of the email package.
Nope, I just brought this today.
I think that's very nice. We'll review that. Any other questions? Any other business to come before Lottie today? Hearing none, I will note that the next regular advisory board meeting is March 6, 2025, back here in this approximate area, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Sharon is moving to adjourn. Is there a second? And Mike is seconded. All in favor? We stand adjourned, and I have no excuse